Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. Hope you're doing well. And hopefully you guys had a relaxing weekend. It was an interesting and a busy weekend for one of rock's biggest bands right now, and that is Greta Van Fleet, who not only kicked off the weekend with a lengthy piece in Rolling Stone, essentially about why it's time to stop the Led Zeppelin comparisons, with the group essentially coming to the conclusion, or rather their frontman, Josh, coming to the conclusion that, hey, we've acknowledged that the Led Zeppelin influence is there, we've acknowledged that we sound like Led Zeppelin, now that that has been established, let's just, stop talking about it, which to me is not like the reason a comparison or a fact of reality stops. Once you've acknowledged it, then from there you either make a change if it's a problem or don't make a change if it's not a problem, because the fact of the matter is a lot of the band's fans are attracted to them because they sound a lot like Led Zeppelin, as Led Zeppelin frontman Robert Plant says himself. They're Led Zeppelin 1. He essentially compares the band's style and sound and everything to the legendary Hard Rock Outfit's first record. I hate to put it like this, but as long as the band continues to sound like Led Zeppelin, they're going to be compared to Led Zeppelin. Even if they drop 40 or 50 records into the future, if they continue sounding like Led Zeppelin on that 50th record, a point of comparison is going to be made. Just because we've acknowledged it is not reason to stop acknowledging it. As long as it continues to exist, it's going to be acknowledged in a positive or a negative light. If you love doing what you're doing, then ignore the comparisons and screw the haters and keep pushing forward and doing what you're doing. But if they're getting to you, then maybe it's time to vary up your sound so that you don't come off just like a copy of one particular band. Conceptually, there's nothing wrong with incorporating the many great musical ideas that have been laced into all of Led Zeppelin's records. But also with the group this weekend, as reported by Consequence of Sound and other outlets as well, the group had a performance on SNL. They performed 2 tracks. The song Black Smoke Rising, You're the One as well, and truth be told, especially Black Smoke Rising, it was a particularly rough performance. Really rough performance. I would say either bombing or bordering on bombing. I wouldn't say total bombing. I've heard worse performances. I think the recent performance of Mark Ronson, Miley Cyrus, and Sean Lennon trying to do that John Lennon Christmas track was particularly horrendous, mostly because of the mixing and everything. And also Lana Del Rey's infamous performance, her infamous debut on Saturday Night Live was pretty rough as well. And historically, SNL is a pretty tough stage. I don't know exactly what it is about performing in that space that seems to throw seasoned vets off of their game a little bit, because maybe the sound isn't that great, maybe they can't quite hear themselves or what they're doing, and I think that that environment puts newer artists with maybe a little less experience under even greater pressure, because more often than not, it is the younger generation who have less time out in the field, less records under their belt. It's artists that come in with that level of experience that I usually see doing the worst on SNL stages, and again, Greta Van Fleet, no exception, because all over the performance of Black Smoke Rising, the drums are really clunky. The segues and the fills and the transitions from one section of the track to the next were incredibly messy. The guitarist was throwing out just like off chords all over the place. It was just super, super sloppy, and the lead vocals seemed a little shot that night. Parts where the vocals were cracking, or some spots where he was reaching into his upper register where he was just really off or shaky on a lot of notes. As far as the bass goes, I mean, it seemed like he was playing his heart out, but I can't typically hear the bass all that much through a lot of SNL mixes, honestly, which is kind of disappointing, and one of the many reasons that I don't really care for the way that SNL sort of puts out its live sound as far as the music goes a lot of the time. And the cherry on top of this monstrously messy performance is really that the band came onto stage with very little in the way of presence, of showmanship. You would think that with Led Zeppelin being such a huge influence, like, I don't know, they might have watched The Song Remains the Same and taken in a bit of that bravado that typically would come through in Led Zeppelin's performance. But instead, I felt like the band was pretty much just rocking out on stage like a high school cover band. And there was just like very little in the way of electricity or excitement to how they were putting themselves out there on this stage. It was just like watching classic hard rock cosplay. And that's pretty much it. I don't know if I have much more to say about it outside of that. Just incredibly disappointing performance. I'm not really sure where the band goes past this point. Obviously, they're looking forward to the Grammys because they got some nominations there, but will they actually grow out of this mediocrity limbo at any point and start writing better tunes, coming through with a more distinct sound, performing better? Remains to be seen, I guess. As long as the band continues to amass these huge crowds while simultaneously staying incredibly so-so artistically and performance-wise as well, their popularity will continue to baffle me. I am going to leave it at that. You guys let me know what you think down in the comments. You can check out the SNL Performances for yourself in the description box, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Over here is another one that you can check out. Next to my head, hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Greta Van Fleet, forever.